I was going to check on one thing, so I said, okay, that's fine, I'll go warm up the car. She came back and she said, what is that? A spoon that has not been cut up.
The hard one?
He did it in the snow
right off the
way.
asphalt.
You need to do it Cajun red in that way with the spoon and pressure.
Ah, gotcha.
Because that's what I
See
see
this?
people live
Cover. Just do that.
press.
Yes, it is pressed.
Now, to get.
Just saying, throwing it out there. Did I hurt your little sensitive feelings?
You did.
You're gonna have to edit this one out too, man.
Got us some sugars?
We have, of course, developed
didn't bring the
different
sugars.
corn. In quality of corn, but they were flat and
You want
worn
sugar
out.
in?
Yeah.
And I've read some places where they were soaked for a while, but you can actually work like a butter knife between the layers, and they would split up a
That's
leaf.
what I heard.
Yes.
Won't do me.
And they would use it in lanterns. That used to start off as a land horn.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lantern, it was a land horn.
Who was selling them? That's 6 years ago.
Where's Smith's, remember that?
Everybody grab, it's a approximate pound of raw flour. Grab one, you take one, pass them down. Pound of flour, please. For the aspect, right. Flour, we have, grab a brisket. This is an extravagant issue today. It's going to be more than what it's been, but just for the sample.
We went down there because I thought somebody said the food was doing it down there.
And
No, down here,
approximately,
so right
a
up over
pound
here,
of pork a piece, it's
Scott.
just about 5 pounds. You know, obviously the conditions are not the best, but you gotta subdivide it amongst yourselves.
Okay.
Figure it out, and then, you know, we'll try different techniques, however you want, you know, to fix it.
This is today's ration, right?
Today's ration.
Today's ration.
Yep.
Okay.
We have other supplemental stuff too that we'll issue out.
That's for rations for tomorrow's lunch and,
Well, it's
for
3
today's?
meals.
Okay.
You know, it'll be a
3 meals for
three-meal
5 days.
equivalent.
We handed out a simulation of, you know, a recreation of one day's ration as recorded in Rogers Journal and other orderly books. It's a pound of pork, a pound of flour, and which was typically either given out, it could have been given out, you know, issued out raw or in biscuit form. We actually handed out a pound of flour and a couple biscuit samples so that the students experience both. And like we're getting ready to do, you know, work the preparation of it with, you know, kind of like a guided preparation of the ration now prior to any scouting.
Here's what we could do. You cut this up, you cook it all tonight. Okay?
Like right now.
Yeah, we almost have to. Well, no, because 1 o'clock we have to go down there. The whole damn, from now till 9 o'clock is scheduled.
Right, it's flexible, we can push back to 1 o'clock, that's why I didn't hand out the things. It was totally for our estimation.
It's almost 1 o'clock.
I understand.
We got 10 minutes to cook it.
Do we have time to cook it? That's the question.
Yeah, I mean, it's near 1 o'clock now, do we want to put it back on ice and come back to it, or what do you want to do?
Probably cooking.
I think we ought to cook it. If we're gonna cook it, now's the time to do it.
Why don't we do up half of it, like cook up half of it now and then have the other half?
But if we cook it,
Okay, so This presentation is called Understanding the Ranging Discipline, and what it is pretty much like an overview. I tried to put it together so that, thank you, so that we look at ranging as a profession, as a skilled profession. You know, like blacksmith or brewer is a poor analogy because it's obviously this is a martial thing, but there are certain skill sets and tasks that are accomplished that are typical and that go to the or inherent in the mission. Is everyone okay if I'm over here? Right. Mission. Ranger, like I was saying, is a professional calling. People that trace language back, note that, what does it say? It goes back to it's a medieval occupational identifier. The first, first time it shows up in English. To appreciate the 18th century Ranger, I said it's important to look at the occupation itself in the context that it was performed in. Basically, we're analyzing the mission. Yeah, the 18th century mission, by the time of Rogers, by mid-century, the military application of ranging is starting to take over. Earlier, the 17th century stuff like church and others, like we got into this a little bit earlier, it's a counter, it's to protect contested terrain from typically native incursions. Sometimes a little bit French, but primarily it's a native thing, and that takes place all along, basically the eastern edge of British, colonization.
What we're really going to talk about is map making and intelligence gathering more on an 18th century plane. We've all had different kinds of experiences with what we do today. Map making, when we look at a map, or we pull out a car map, we know what a car map looks like. Most everybody knows what a topo map looks like. Okay. And I found this back there, I didn't know it was there, but I went digging through all the stuff that the parks has, I'll put it back. This lovely kind of a topo map of the grounds here, very nice. Everybody can figure this one out pretty readily, with all the various lines and so forth and so on it. But when you look at it, this same map in terms of an 18th century map, it's entirely different. The basic features are there, general, there's the port, there's the buildings, and there's the road, but we don't see the same type of line markings that one would expect to find today on a modern map. Because their way of drawing maps at the time was completely different. So, and if you took a look at the map that's behind here, it's drawn in an 18th century manner. So the whole process was entirely different. So when we're doing maps for reconnaissance, and generally what I try to do is I don't draw maps, from my perspective when I do them, in a modern sense. I draw them in an 18th century manner, utilizing the same types of symbology that they would have used back then. Move these out of the way. Lights. This map here is actually very similar to the one that's on the wall behind it, but it's just basic, simple things. Robert Rogers was not a trained artist. Robert Rogers was not a trained engineer. And we get to see some of his map drawing is quite interesting. So the basic understandings. Okay, first of all, we have to think about the purpose of the scout. What are our intentions?
I've got a whole bunch of different kinds of compasses that at the end we'll come up and look at and talk about and see, and what you should use and what you shouldn't use, what to look out for with some of these repros and that kind of stuff, just in case you decide you're going to use a compass someday. What I really want is, in front of you I put you all a map. What you have is this map here, is what's in front of you. in black and white. This was one of the maps that I had drawn by one of the senior ranger students who is required, every senior, if you're going for the senior ranger program in our battalion, and believe me, it's not a mandatory thing, it's a volunteer thing. It takes about 4 or 5 years till you complete it, just to get through the program. Most of it's your self-study. You got to do a paper, historical research paper, you got to do projects and all that kind of stuff. But one of the pieces of it is orienteering, and when they come to do orienteering with me, a lot of times we do it here at Fort Frederick. We'll do it other places too, but a lot of times we do it here at Fort Frederick because it's market fair and we're usually here for 5 or 6 days. So I had him go out and do a map. It took him 2 consecutive years, because he was only here for 4 days each time, to go out and hand do. You can't copy from anything. This has got to be from base, because it's like Tim taught you yesterday about you go out, what's important, and how do you know how to navigate the area and all this kind of stuff when you take the intelligence back. Well, that's what this was supposed to be, his intelligence back.
So all these coats are specifically made for hunting, and what Andrew is saying is the same thing I've noticed, is that it looks like they're made into the coat, whereas I added these to the outside because I was making a patch. If I were to do this coat again, I would make it on the inside rather than the outside. And that's where, with our light infantry coats, I don't think Sean has his on mine back at the barracks, because I have the leather pockets on the outside. And it's hard to tell from that description if the leather pockets were added to the outside. It's just a quick fix when they're changing the uniform, or did they make those leather pockets on the inside? And I think it's going to be probably a debate among reenactors on how that really should be. But that's very good observation, is that if you're making a coat with breast pockets, you should make it so it's actually an internal pocket rather than something that you added to the outside.
Ambuscade is a surprise attack, basically ambush, best conducted on channeling terrain. So where we ambushed y'all earlier would be ideal. The sun was toward back in your face. It's sort of funneled in there, especially if y'all would have been down by the creek. But it's okay. And there was some differences in terrain. There were some down tops, there were some logs, there was the creek there. So you're making obstacles. You're making people look down at their footing. You're trying to get them off guard. So the other reason why we were so high up on the ridge is all we had to do was step back 5 feet and you couldn't see us. Cover high ground, alternating fire. Like we said, one person would shoot. The next person shot where the other person could draw your attention away and make his escape further up the ridge and reload at the same time. And then another person down even further shooting and yelling just to get attention so everybody else can move out of the way. And if you're in a short scouting team or a disrupting team, that's how you want to do it. We're not there to kill all 15 people because it's just 3 of us. Our job is to go in there, disrupt y'all, get you disoriented, get your mind off of the mission at hand, get the heck out of there without dying, preferably, and then keep on moving and try to keep doing it as long as we can till we have to go back. Or the other case that we shoot, we're an advanced scouting party, and the main force hears us shoot at y'all, then they can come help us too, and then, you know, the numbers are equal. Or in y'all's case, it could have been overran.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
And then evening we embarked again, and early in the morning, the 16th drew up our bateau. About 4 miles distance from the advance guard, and afterwards laying ambushed by a path,
I could have waited till the setback.
leading from tents up to a mountain. In order to surprise the enemy who went there daily in parties to take a view of the lake. If you know their routes, don't set up on the trail. You try to get height advantage. Try to distance yourself to where they're not going to be seeing you, especially if it's a routine route that they're using. they're not gonna be looking, and, they're gonna be looking down the path, get off the trail, it'll be obvious.
We all learn from each other. So if we learn from each other, we come to common ground. Anyway, or how not to become Hatchet Jack. So we go here and we take a look at these happy guys, which was last winter, and we'd rather look like this than wind it up looking like that.
Mountain man.
Okay? Granted, it's not our time period, but did we find people like that frozen? Yeah, we did. So, okay? So what our goals are, oh, you got that working, is our planning concerns, our priorities in the field, the equipment to ensure our well-being while we're out there. We're gonna do documentation and references for our selections, and I kind of put that together with the citations. I did not put, I'll tell you right now, I don't have like 18 citations for one thing. I put like 2 in there. And then you can go from there. It's out there, the information is there. The Pringle letter and how it applies to warfare versus woodsmanship. We're gonna take a break when we get done with this. You're gonna read that letter for about 10 minutes, and then you're gonna circle some things that you think were detrimental to them in their well-being. And you're going to see how it applies to warfare versus just going out and doing a trek.
Me and Ed gonna screw up everybody's day tomorrow.
Don't scare them.
We're gonna have some fun.
I'm gonna have to run down there and let them know we're not gonna be there at 1 o'clock.
Thanks for messing up the video. Appreciate it.
Me and Ed gonna be naked with war paint.
Wall paint nakedness.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna get in your way.
We'll be #1 G.I. Joe.
I'm gonna, no one's answering, not Tim, not Blair, and not my son, so I'm gonna have to run down there on foot and let them know.
This is,
So Greg, what are we doing here?
We're making ash cakes, which we're taking raw dough, and we're cooking it right in the ashes here. And we're also taking making whole cakes. So I got the whole cakes in a pan of oil. It's just flour and water. And so 2 different ways of making bread on the frontier.
Did you add anything to it or just the water?
Just flour and water is all we did. The whole cakes and so forth, because of the oil, if you have sugar, you can sprinkle a little bit of sugar on it. And make them sweet if you'd like. See how this one is. Not quite done.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna run down there and run back.
So, these are cool.
cigars, honestly.
Cooked all the way through.
Well, we can pull it off.
Not bad.
There you go.
Not bad at all. These are the ash cakes. Go ahead, blow off, pick off some of the burnt.
Now, did you cover that with ashes or
I
did you
covered it
just?
in ashes. See, I got one right here. I'm just finishing up.
Really?
Still a little bit soft. So I'm gonna let that say. The ash ain't gonna hurt you. It's actually good for your digestive system. If you got an upset stomach, you can, that will help settle your stomach. Very edible. A little bit gritty here and there. But okay.
Never grit, never hurt nobody. Gotta eat a little bit of dirt.
I say if you got sugar, you can put a little bit of sugar on it. Fine meal.
There you go. Ed getting ready for a little ambush on the Rangers. Nothing wrong with waking up with a little bit of ambush in the morning. See the fort through the trees. And see this draw that they're going to be walking in. And that's the kill zone in the funnel. Well, there's our quarry. And that is who we will be taking out. We'll just wait for him to get here.
Until then, vive la France. Coming up, Ed, they're coming up. Let them have it. Let them have it, they're coming up. They're still loading. Drill them, Ed. Drill them. Drill them. Kill the lobster backs. One fucker see us. No. I thought he saw me. He was being pretty fucking slick. Yeah, they were.